Greetings from Spark. I am Barnabas Tiburcius. I am the mentor of this initiative. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, Living Spark. In today's podcast, I would like to take upon a broader explanation of the dogma of the presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Though I am not a qualified theologian, I come from a purely spiritual perspective. This podcast has been evoked by some of the posting that I find on the Facebook from my good friends. Recently, in one of the posts, it has been referred to Bishop Barron's exposition on the real presence of Christ in the Religious Education Congress in February 2020. He has beautifully captured the transformation that has taken place within the church in understanding the concept of Christ's presence in the Eucharist, starting from the Council of Trent to the encyclical by Pope Paul VI just before the Second Vatican Council on Mysterium Fidei, where he very clearly talks about a movement away from a physical presence of Christ, a physical reality of Christ in the communion or in the Eucharist, to what we call an all-inclusive reality. What do you mean by all-inclusive reality? Here science comes to our help. An all-inclusive reality should definitely include the most fundamental levels of reality. And we know today, at least I am very convinced, that the most fundamental level of reality is consciousness. I would say that Pope Paul VI approach is a cosmotheandric approach, a word which was coined by Raimondo Panikkar, cosmos, theos and anthropos, which means all the three elements of the universe, Christ and man is one entity or one consciousness in reality. This is what we need to take in when we start talking about the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Let me give you, there are three elements which are involved basically in understanding the presence of Christ in the Eucharist. These three elements are, first, that which is consecrated, the Eucharist or the host, the person who is consecrating, the celebrant, and finally, the people who are witnessing this celebration with an aim towards transformation. Now, unless all these three entities are tuned and resonate on the same frequency, a reality, a deep reality eludes you. Let me give you a simple example of a radio broadcast. The broadcaster is doing a broadcast at a particular frequency from a station, but it is put out into a wide area as a broadcast, but the receiver who picks up that particular station is tuned to that particular frequency. So this frequency is present right at the source, in the medium, as well as in the recipient. So also, Christ's presence means here that this reality has to be in resonance in all the three levels. This lays a great onus on the priest who's doing the celebration. There's a beautiful example in the Bible of the people who walk with Jesus to Emmaus. These two disciples do not recognize Christ till we come to the point of the inn where they sit down to eat and Christ breaks the bread, then they realize the presence of Christ. Breaking the bread or opening up is a symbolic representation of the consciousness being opened up in the recipient. So here we had the bread as the source, Christ as the medium, and the recipient were the two disciples. This is exactly what we need to understand by being the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. I hope I have been able to elucidate to a certain extent the reality of the presence of Christ in the Eucharist, and thank you for listening and watching.